Welcome in, everyone. Glad to see you all back again. We've had so much to go over the past several days, so much to talk about in relation to Tim Kennedy and much more. And I'm coming in here today to maybe put a bow on this, maybe wrap this up, maybe really explain whether or not this situation is finally over. If there is more stuff coming, what that stuff could be, I honestly don't know. But before we get into all that, as always, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and always comment with your thoughts. It helps us grow and share the stories of American heroes, which is what we're all about here. So let's run down a quick timeline of what we have seen happen so far with the Tim Kennedy situation. Back in November, the Antihero Podcast, which is hosted by a guy named Brent Tucker, who is a former Delta Force operator for a long time, and a guy named Tyler Hoover, who is also an Army veteran, released a podcast breaking down Tim Kennedy's best-selling book, Scars and Stripes, specifically analyzing the part about the Battle of Firebase Anaconda, calling into questions many of the claims made in Tim's book. I'm not going to repeat all of them, but some of the big ones were that there's a thermal situation where they're engaging targets that someone is spotting on thermal, claims he had a bunch of grenades, claims that he was running out of ammo and might have to kill someone to get an AK-47, claimed he had a shy tack, which no one seems to know where that came from. There's the incident with the young girl he claims he held for hours. And the Antihero Podcast essentially went page by page. Oh, they claim that people got it who allegedly looked at him wrong. They went page by page, and Brent and Tyler kind of explained why the stories in Scars and Stripes don't really add up, don't really make any sense in their opinion. That's their opinion. As always, I've said I encourage you all to watch all the available videos, come to your own conclusions. Shortly after that, and I think there were some follow-ups, but at some point in the not-so-distant point after that, Tim Kennedy releases a video called Setting the Record Straight on YouTube, where he addresses some of the more minor claims, the Purple Heart one. He addresses claims about Ranger School, but really doesn't address a lot of the big claims in the video. He also does a video with Travis Worlock, the ground force commander, that I would encourage everyone to watch. There's really not that much to take away from it, to be quite honest with you. I didn't find anything in there that interesting or impressive. And then Travis and two other teammates, we'll call them the two Kevins, they did the Antihero Podcast as witnesses who were there at the Battle of Firebase Anaconda, and essentially said that nothing or very little of Tim's book about that is accurate, and that most of it's not real or it's exaggerated, and so forth and so forth. And after that, things started getting really spicy. Tim's lawyer reached out to me, as we've talked about, and he quite frankly didn't know what specifically in the book could be true or not true, or what from the podcast was true or not true. But the one claim, and let me pull it up here because I want to be entirely fair to everyone involved. The one claim that he is adamant is true is the thermal claim. And as we've talked about before, he said that, he told me that the story is true, it was justified given the circumstances and tactics, and that it was being done under a lawful order. Travis later reached out to me to repeat what he'd said on the Antihero Podcast. I'm going to read that quote back to you now. Absolutely no, that did not happen because there was nobody to shoot on the ground. That's ridiculous. He further said that the only person who could have issued the order to Tim to do such a thing would have been himself. He didn't do it. He would have heard the shots if it had happened. And he is adamant that if such an event had occurred, it would have been a war crime. In fact, I'm filming this on Thursday, January 9th. I actually spoke with Travis. I don't think he would mind me saying this. And he sent over some reading stuff that essentially was Geneva Convention articles trying to justify his view that these alleged actions from Tim, if they did happen, which Travis and others are adamant did not happen. Tim's lawyer, and by extension Tim, obviously, are adamant that they did, but were justified. So that's where you're kind of adding that Travis believes he's justified in saying that they violated the rules, the laws, whatever you want to call them. And that's kind of where things have been. there have not been too much that's really blown up since we published this article breaking down the entire situation. And I think we know why. I have a theory about why we know why, and I'm going to read it to you. It goes back. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Tim also released a statement where he admitted he did not have a Purple Heart, he did not have a Purple Heart or a Bronze Star with a V device. He has a Bronze Star with no V device, which was, and this is important, which was not awarded for his Afghanistan deployment. That Bronze Star, the citation, I have it. I posted it publicly so you all can read it. Was for actions taken March 21st, 2006 to August 1st of 2006 as part of a joint task force to Sergeant Timothy F. Kennedy, and that was the task force, I believe, when he was with John McPhee. In fact, I'm fairly certain that's it. So he released a statement then where he said, actually, no, I don't have a Purple Heart or the V device. And to Tim's evidence that Tim has never worn a V device on his uniform, which his lawyer was very quick to point out. I've never seen photos of that, but I couldn't find them. If they exist, obviously let me know, and we'll go from there. This is why I think this situation is over. It's the USASOC statement. I think what put an end to this situation, the drama, the chaos, whether or not these stories are to be believed, to not be believed. This is my opinion. It's a theory I have. I spoke to two different people who had a similar theory, if you will. Let's go back to the USASOC statement, and let's read it again, and let's pay attention. There are no investigations, and this was specifically, I want to clarify, this statement was in response to the thermal shooting people story who might have been either out of the fight, not actively engaged, but were armed, could have been wounded, anyone who had a body signature. Now, it's important to know this story does change. The story in the book is a much smaller event. The story he's told Sean Ryan was a nightly event, 8 hours at a time, hundreds of rounds. The story he tells in the book is way, way smaller on scale. But anyways, this is what that statement was in response to. There are no investigations ongoing in this matter. It is important to note Mr. Kennedy's view in his personal capacity does not currently represent USASOC. If any allegations imply violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, or laws of armed conflict, they would be assessed by appropriate investigative authorities. At this time, USASOC is not conducting any investigation related to these claims. Allegations of war crimes are taken with the utmost seriousness. Any such claim, comma, if credible, comma, would prompt a thorough investigation by the appropriate military or federal authorities. At this time, USASOC has not been informed of or initiated any investigation into the allegations mentioned in your inquiry. We remain committed to the highest standard of integrity and accountability within our formations. Why is that important? It's important because you had Travis, as well as two teammates, who said this event never happened. You also had them come out and said if it did happen, it would have been illegal. Brent has said the same thing. This is not a secret. Their viewpoint, watch what they've said, come to your own decisions, is that if said event occurred, it beyond a shadow of a doubt would be a war crime. That's their stance. Tim's lawyer's stance is not only did it occur, it's absolutely not a war crime. If I was an investigator and I heard a ground force commander, well, first he says it didn't happen, which is the point we're getting to, but he said these actions would be a war crime. That credible line in that statement, my theory is they looked at the evidence in front of them. They looked at the claims. They listened to Travis say this never happened, and they came to the conclusion, yeah, of course we're not going to investigate this because, one, we don't possibly believe it was even real, and we have the ground force commander there saying it wasn't real. So why are we going to waste time investigating this? Again, I can't stress this enough. Tim's lawyer and Tim would tell you it did happen. It was legally justified. They were ordered to do it. Who issued the order in their version of events? We don't know. Travis is adamant he absolutely did not issue the order. Who was the guy on the thermals spotting the targets? We don't know. That name has never been revealed. Is there any witness who can come forward and say they remember this incident happening, the thermal sniping incident? Is there anyone out there who remembers this occurring? If so, you can come talk to me. I will give you the floor. You have the platform, and you can tell any story you want about this alleged incident. Now, keep in mind, it's on the record. So anything you say is not going to disappear. It's there forever. I think that statement from USASOC, a lot of people read it and said essentially, if there was credibility that something had gone wrong, there would be an escalation up the ladder. And there isn't. There's just not. USASOC is not looking into this. I know for a fact, I was told that they were aware of these claims and initially were checking them out. They came back later and said, essentially we looked into it. I read you the statement. If there was credible evidence of a war crime in any situation, it would be investigated by the thoroughly investigated by the appropriate bodies. That has not happened here. And my guess is we're kind of at the end of this. People have come to their opinions. Everyone out there has an opinion of Tim Kennedy, good or bad. Those opinions aren't changing at this point. I'm not sure what new evidence could come out. I'm not sure what new information could come out that would change someone's opinion. I honestly don't know. If there is new information out there, I'd love to see it. If there's new evidence out there, I'd love to see it. But at this point, it truly does feel everyone's mind is made up. USASOC is not getting involved. I don't see anyone's opinions changing. And I want to know in the comments who you think is telling the truth. Is Tim telling the truth? Is the Antihero Podcast, did they nail him? Did they get him dead to rights? Was their information accurate? Is Travis have the most accurate information, or is Tim kind of on this island, but he is the correct one? I want you to comment below who you think is actually the correct person in this scenario. But I'm sure there's going to be a live stream Thursday night. I'm filming this Thursday, January 9th. I'm sure there's going to be an Antihero live stream. I'll be watching it, flipping back and forth. Probably the national title semifinals of Penn State, Notre Dame on one screen, have the Antihero Podcast on another screen, and maybe there's more to come out. And if there is more to come out, we should all hear it. We should listen to it, make a decision about how much we trust it. But for right now, that's kind of the way I see it. I think we're at the end of the road with the Tim Kennedy drama. I think that people have been presented with enough information. They can come to their own conclusions. They might think Tim's 100% truthful. They might think Tim's not been truthful about anything. That's just the nature of the beast. This is America. People have to come to their own decisions. They have to look at the evidence. And once USASOC sent that statement that they were out, they weren't getting involved, it really did feel like this whole loop had been closed and everyone was ready to move on. That's not me saying that Tim is telling the truth or that Tim's lying. It's not me saying that the Antihero Podcast is telling the truth or the Antihero Podcast is lying. It's my theory that if there was something serious that they really wanted to look into, USASOC would have come out and said it. And they would have said, yep, we're aware, we're investigating, we got people going out there. I did ask Tim's lawyer if this story would be repeated to an investigator from USASOC. He was adamant it would be. So, not that that's a concern because they're clearly not going to investigate him. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, you've made it this far, please like and subscribe. And I want to hear your comments below. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything I'm forgetting? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.